I'm Bill Malee. I'm with National Grid. You know, it's interesting, when I got a chance an opportunity to speak, I saw who the panelists were, and I was just thinking to myself that, you know, all these great infrastructure projects, and it's National Grid's distribution networks that ultimately, you know, have the opportunity to bring the benefits to end-use customers for many of these projects, which is great. You know, National Grid serves energy to over 7 million people across our footprint. That's in New York, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts. You know, at our core, our gas and electric distribution operations employs over 15,000 employees across our footprint. And when we look at our supply chain, our local vendors who support us, that's an additional 40,000 jobs. So, you know, our impact on the economy and the local job market is huge across our footprint. We're currently investing almost $2 billion a year across our footprint in New York, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. And, you know, our networks, you know, they really make up the backbone of today's economy. And just the fact that we're investing in those networks is a boost to those local economies. You know, when you look at the electric power sector in Rhode Island specifically, it's responsible for over $1 billion of economic impact to the state's economy. So it plays a significant role in the state's economy in Rhode Island. And National Grid serves over 750,000 customers in Rhode Island. And the money that we collect from those customers to deliver energy, you know, it stays in those communities. We pay wages, we rent buildings, you know, we maintain our systems, we pay property taxes in those communities. So that, you know, those networks ultimately become the backbone of those communities. Over the next 5 years, National Grid plans to spend over $1.5 billion in infrastructure in Rhode Island alone in our transmission, our electric distribution, and gas distribution networks. So let's talk a little bit more about Rhode Island. You know, last year we completed a significant transmission project called the IRP, or Interstate Reliability Project. It was the final piece of a broader New England-wide transmission project called NEWS. That NEWS project had several substation upgrades and over 75 miles of new high-tension line, 345 kV transmission lines that were constructed across New England. And in Rhode Island, 23 miles of new transmission was constructed. National Grid spent over $160 million on that infrastructure just in Rhode Island. And you know, that project really made the backbone of the New England grid more reliable. And it also reduced congestion. So today, if you pull out your ISO app and you look at what the price is right now from Connecticut to Massachusetts to Rhode Island, there's not a big difference. And a lot of that is because we've invested in infrastructure and really tried to drive out congestion on the system in those areas so the power flows more freely across those states. And by reducing congestion, that's a direct benefit to customers because the lower prices that we can cause in the market, ultimately those costs get passed on to customers. When we look at our electric distribution network, you know, a significant amount of our time and investment focus is on upgrading our substations. The goal of our program to upgrade our substations is to really address the reliability of those substations, and we're targeting 4 specific areas. First, we're targeting asset condition. We're also targeting load growth, so ensuring that our substations are fit for the future so that if there is growth in any particular area, we can serve it. The third area that we're focused on from a substation perspective is making sure that those substations perform in contingency situations or storm events. And finally, in Rhode Island specifically, we have a number of substations which are in low-lying areas or close to the coast, and we're really focusing on making sure that those stations have flood protection. So across Rhode Island, we have 10 major substation projects in flight right now. And I just want to highlight a couple of those today. One of the largest projects we have going in Rhode Island is the South Street substation. South Street was originally built in 1920. It's the heart of the Providence downtown network, and we're rebuilding that substation from scratch to focus on asset conditions and to ensure it has the capability to really meet the city's energy needs of the future. We're also doing a ton of work on Aquatic Island. We're investing in 2 new substations and also reinforcing the sub-transition background. And I think this project particularly is a great example on how we're modernizing our grid. By targeting 2 new substations and reinforcing the backbone that serves those stations, we're going to be able to retire 5 legacy substations on the island. So we're really thinking about it in a new way. We're not just going back to the same substations and trying to revamp them. We're saying, what's the best way to modernize and serve those areas and developing infrastructure projects to do that. And finally, the project I wanted to talk a little bit about is Rhode Island. Jeff spoke about it in detail. This is even National Grid's piece of that project is a major project. We have 2 new substations, one on Rhode Island, one on the mainland, and a 20-mile submarine cable to connect the 2. And we're going to invest over $100 million in that project to interconnect Rhode Island Power Company for the first time to the New England market to give them access to lower cost power, and also connect, obviously, the first offshore wind farm in the U.S. But in addition to our major traditional substation upgrades, we're also really excited about some small projects. One particular project is called volt bar optimization. I could quickly kind of dive way into the engineering aspects of this, but at the simplest level, it's essentially a modern piece of technology that can read the voltage on a small set of the local system. In this case, we're installing it at 2 substations on 7 feeders. And it can read those real-time inputs and control the voltage, optimize the voltage, and actually reduce energy usage. So why we're so excited about this is we don't actually have to ask customers to do anything else. And we think we can save 3% energy efficiency on those feeders by installing this equipment. So it has some real promise in the future as we move forward. We haven't forgotten, though, about our gas distribution network. And, it is going to play a critical role in the future as well. On the gas distribution networks, our focus is really around leak-prone pipe. I think probably most people in this room know what that is, but it's essentially a raw steel pipe, cast iron pipe, unprotected steel pipe, which was installed anywhere from the late 1800s through 1950. That particular material, it actually isn't great to join together. It also is susceptible to frost, ground heat, ground movement, construction that's near the pipe. All can make this type of material prone to leaks. So when we surveyed our Rhode Island system, over 30% of our gas distribution network was made up of either raw iron, unprotected steel, or cast iron. So we're on a journey to replace and eliminate all of those materials over the next 20 years. To give you just a little example of the pace at which and the length of time it takes to do that, last year we replaced 40 miles of, actually by the time of the end of this year we'll replace 40 miles of leak-prone pipe, and next year we're going to target an additional 60 miles of leak-prone pipe. Just 2 years of investment is almost $100 million. So this isn't something you can do overnight. But there's huge benefits to our customers and to the system by really focusing on this type of material. First, the obvious one is that we're going to see less gas leaks once we replace this pipe. The second is we're going to reduce the emissions from those gas leaks as well. And so, customers are really going to see benefits on both sides of the fence. Finally, our 21st century economy, it's going to demand a 21st century grid. It's not going to be able to accept a grid that was built in 1920, 1940, or 1950. And National Grid is committed to delivering reliable power and environmentally friendly solutions to our customers. And we're aligning ourselves around that vision to what we call our Connect 21 strategy. And there's really 3 phases to the strategy. First, in the short term, we feel like customers are going to have more tools and more data at their disposal, and they'll be able to use those tools to make better choices about how they use their energy. In the medium term, we really believe there's going to be a lot more technology partners in the energy landscape, and that regulation is going to be modernized so that it's going to incentivize innovation and ultimately investment in the grid from a technology perspective. And then when you think about the real long term, some policies have really already set that objective for us, with a target of 80% reduction of greenhouse gases by 2050. That is a challenge, and to meet that goal, we're going to have to do that in a cost-effective way, and ensure that no customers are left behind on that journey. National Grid is investing in all of its networks: transmission, gas distribution, electric distribution, and we're doing that to ensure we provide a reliable service to all of our customers. On blue sky days like the beautiful one we have today, and frankly in those extreme weather events that we've seen on the increase over the last 5 to 7 years.
I wonder why.
But by focusing on our core services, we'll be prepared to bring tomorrow's energy future to our customers. So thank you for the time.